Welcome back to Azimuth Podcast. I'm Barrett McNabb, and I'm with Kimberly McNabb. And so this is an update video to one that we published yesterday to the Trump trial, and 7 jurors were selected on day 2 of this Trump hush money trial taking place in New York City. Effectively, it's an election interference case. There will eventually be a total of 12 seated with 6 alternates.
So here is what we know so far about the selected jurors. Juror number 1 works in sales and has some college. Originally from Ireland, married with no kids.
That's interesting.
Gets news from New York Times, Daily Mail, and sometimes Fox News and MSNBC. So they really run the gambit there.
Yeah, I mean that's totally it's all over the place. It's left leaning, it's right leaning. That's kind of amazing, and not a lot of people do that.
Nope. Juror number 2 is an oncology nurse, native New Yorker, reads the New York Times, and watches CNN. So fairly left-leaning.
Right.
And juror number 3 is a corporate lawyer, is originally from Oregon, not married, and doesn't have any kids, gets news from the New York Times, Wall Street Journal, and Google.
Okay.
And juror number 4 runs an IT business for training and consulting, attended 1 year of college, is an older man originally from Puerto Rico who is married with adult children and 2 grandchildren. And he told the court he finds Trump fascinating and mysterious, but didn't indicate any strong feelings about his politics.
And that's kind of interesting that he says, look, I know who Trump is and I find him fascinating. You know, I don't know if that's good or bad, honestly. I mean, it doesn't seem to be too neutral. But juror number 5 is an English teacher in a public charter school system. She has a master's degree in education. She's a young black woman who isn't married and doesn't have any kids. And she said she avoids political conversations. She wasn't aware that Trump is facing charges in any other criminal cases. And I find...
She lived under a rock.
Yeah, I find that to be just unusual, especially being as educated as she is with a master's degree in education. You know, you would think that that person would be well-read and you know, listening to whatever radio station or whatever TV station. The Trump indictments have just been everywhere.
Well, even if she didn't watch the news or read news channels, just to not know about the other trial seems odd, but we do follow this more than the average person.
Exactly. So juror number 6 is a software engineer at a large broadcast company, recently graduated from college, not married, doesn't have any children, and currently living with 3 roommates in Chelsea. Now remember, one of the very first questions is what neighborhood do you live in? And she gets her news from the New York Times, Google, Facebook, and TikTok. So
I'm going to call left.
I'm going to call left on that as well. And you know, so it's interesting to get your news on TikTok. Well, juror number 7 is a civil litigator. So we're looking at an attorney here. Married with 2 kids, lives on the Upper East Side in Manhattan, said there were likely Trump administration policies that he disagreed with. He reads the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, New York Post, and Washington Post. So most of those are left-leaning. There's only one right-leaning one in there. So I'm gonna say that's a left-leaning person as well.
So what do you think so far of these jurors?
Yeah. So you know the argument that we made yesterday was that it was going to be very difficult for Trump to find a neutral jury of his peers in New York City. It was just really going to be...
Because he's the most famous man on the planet.
Exactly.
And,
now,
The View, there was a clip I listened to today. One of the hosts was just basically hysterical about, a Trump supporter is going to sneak into the jury. It doesn't really sound like it so far anyway, and good luck finding a fanatic who's willing to do that and possibly perjure themselves just to get on the jury in New York.
Right, and so you know we've seen. I predicted yesterday that there were going to be hundreds of potential jurors that they're going to cycle through. And in this crop, it was 96. The next crop of potential jurists are going to be seen on Thursday, so tomorrow. And the defense has already used 6 of their 10 preemptive challenges. And a preemptive challenge, as you remember, is just because I don't like the way you look, I'm disqualifying you, and you can kick that person out. The prosecution has used 4 of their 10, where they just got a bad feeling and just wanted to kick the person out. Now, both the prosecution and the defense can ask the judge to make a call and get rid of somebody for cause, but they have to explain that to the judge, and the judge gets to determine whether or not the cause is warranted. We did see a number of jurists that went to CNN and talked about what it was like to have Trump look them in the eye and while they're being asked questions, and there was even some levity where a surgeon was being talked to and said that, could she attend her sister's wedding in September? And the judge said, look, if we're all here still in September, then we have, bigger problems. And that's very true. So it's interesting to see what it is that is going to happen on Thursday. But yeah, there's a ton of people that they're cycling through. All right. Well, thank you so much for this update from Azimuth Podcast, and we'll put out something again tomorrow. Thanks so much.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for listening. If you enjoy our show with all the stories we share, we would love your support.
And it's as easy as clicking that subscribe or follow button. This will ensure you never miss an episode and keeps us bringing you these important stories. Your support makes a huge difference. Thank you so much for being part of our podcast family.
Thanks, and keep tuning in.